Good morning, and welcome to the October 17th edition of the News and You. What's in the news and what we can do to prepare for it and lessons we can learn from it. First article was around water infrastructure repairs and how Calgary is entering phase three of its repairs. Now, these repairs will not be as bothersome or as large as some of the first two sets of repairs they've gone through, because they said they're smaller lines and they'll be able to isolate these lines without disruption to the feeder main. We've seen infrastructure failing all over the place. Multiple water utilities, feeder mains, water lines, various cities across the country and in various countries. But that's not all. I mean, our roads need work, bridges need work. The electrical grid can barely handle, a lot of times, the strain we're putting on it now, let alone new things coming up. A lot of the infrastructure was put in, built to last, decades, and doesn't have things that enable better security, or the costs are too high. Communications goes down a lot. All kinds of things. All the basic core infrastructure has been neglected for a long time. Lessons. I guess look after your own infrastructure. Look at the things that you have control over and do what you can to maintain that. Have a preventative maintenance program, whether it's starting your generator and running it, oil changes on your vehicle, keeping your house in good repair. Don't wait for things to fail before you try and fix them. Have redundancy, have backups, have your workarounds. Be able to isolate various components. It could be as simple as shutting off or having shutoffs on each toilet and sink, so that if you have a problem with one toilet, you don't have to shut off the water supply to the entire house to be able to deal with that. Look at the critical infrastructure. Basically, make your own. Look at, you expect water, so what would you do for water? Do you have a rain barrel in case you lose water? Do you have water stored? Electricity. Do you have your batteries charged in case you lose power? Do you have a generator? Do you have solar? Look at all of those different things. Responders being harassed. There was a couple of articles. One was around armed groups harassing FEMA workers in Hurricane Helen response. There was a few on this. There was one where it was supposedly an armed group and it ended up being a single individual, allegedly, so conflicting news reports. And the other one was around how there was an armed group that, although they didn't draw their weapons, they were armed and they were looking to allegedly get products from a FEMA recovery center and distribute them themselves, because they apparently felt that supplies or products were being withheld from them. Some of the reasons for this, it could be distrust of institutions or the government or agencies thereof, misinformation being spread and people acting on that misinformation, feeling supplies or services are being withheld, or discrimination being applied against certain groups for whatever reason, societal degradation, or mental health issues. Just some of the possible reasons that this could happen. I've seen a number of times where you'd go to a call and they'd say, well, they're, newly arrived in this country or relatively new, and they have a strong mistrust or distrust of police or fire because of experiences they've had prior to arriving here. Well, that's valid, or they don't speak the language. Well, I've seen people drive into a vehicle trap on a bus route where the sign wasn't in text; it was a picture of a car falling into a pit. So there are reasons, and then there are not so good reasons or excuses. Lessons we can learn. If you're a responder, take care of yourself first. Have backup. Don't go into alone if you can help it. Get out if you need to. I get it. I was a first responder. You want to help. That's why you joined up. That's what you want to do. But as they always say, don't turn yourself into a victim trying to help somebody else. Agencies need to consider the audiences and areas they work in and consider adjusting their methods. If you know you're going into a spot where there might be a high concentration of groups or populations that, for whatever reason, have mistrust, distrust other issues that might hinder or alter your response, think about that. Maybe you can change the way you do things. Have your own preps. If you don't want to have to rely on the government for handouts when things go bad, don't. Have your own preps so you don't have to go to a recovery center. You don't have to go someplace to try and get things. Regulations forcing banks to become money cops. So this article spoke of how the large fine to TD Bank, in excess of $3 billion, will result in banks having to look more and deeper into all activity of accounts of clients. Some people would say that's a bad thing, and that would be more of an invasion of privacy. We may need to adjust our expectations. Security and convenience, as we've talked about on this channel before, don't often go hand in hand. They have to be balanced. So if you wait until the last minute for paying staff, for taking out loans, for doing whatever, making purchases, and then you expect everything to be rushed through, well, that might lead to more fraud or more illegal activity. You might have to, from the bank's perspective, maybe they should verify that funds actually exist. If you're writing yourself a blank check, putting it in, or a check, filling it out, depositing it in the ATM, and then immediately withdrawing the funds, and they don't exist, that's a problem. I get that banks want to have satisfied customers or clients if they prefer, but the reality is they're not satisfying other clients. If my fees go up because the bank has to pay out money for fraud because they were trying to rush things through for someone else who didn't plan ahead, that's not good for me. So on that note, plan ahead. Don't wait until the last minute and expect a rush of your transaction, your transfer of funds, your purchase, whatever it is. Have cash on hand. We've spoken about that many times. Kind of be your own bank, right? Take things into your own hands. Control what you can. And that's a short and sweet one for today. Thanks for